It's called communion. It's called getting along. It's called unity. So I heard a gospel quartet and I was talking to Reginald Rogers. I think he had I said, do you teach stride piano? Boom, 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 boom. And he said, I think he said no, but you were aware of what it was. The accompanist was a one-man band, and the guys did the harmony, and I realized there was a science to it. So that got my attention. That is still on my iPad. I
Might be on your iPad too. Do you have an iPad?
No, I don't. I barely have an iPod.
Okay.
It's later on. Yeah.
Okay, so you have classical, and you have country, and you have quartet.
Well, when I say quartet, I mean choral stuff.
Okay.
Also, at the same time, when I was your age, there were choral groups that were popular, like the Norman Luboff Choir and Fred Waring. And that was a place where some students from Anderson University aspired to go, because, I mean, that was some place that you could go with your talent if you were good enough. Great vocalists, great tenors, so that, and then folk music came along in the 60s, and some of that is still fun. We got our daughter's name from a group called the New Christy Minstrels. Goodbye, Suzanne, don't cry, Suzanne. I don't know if I'm doing this, I'm doing play you know, I love that. And then I tried real hard on the rock business because my son, I loved guitars until they plugged them into the walls. And the acoustic guitar was, so I tried very hard because my son was, you know how the distorted guitar sound came along with it. You hear that? The sound that everybody loves, because they call it power guitar chords. There was an artist, Carly Robbins, doing a tune, and there was a bass break where the bass player was supposed to go doom, 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 boom, 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 boom. Boy, you can hear it, can't you? Doom, boom, boom. Was that your pacemaker? Did anybody else hear that?
Yeah.
That's great acoustics. You don't want to whisper anything in here, you're going to... Where was it?
Bass line.
So you're going to... He's saying, the old man's crazy. And you're right. But so he's getting ready to do, and it came out of phase. The electronic phaser, where it electronically somehow it came loose, and it went there. First time anybody ever heard that sound, and they said, "That's fantastic. How'd you do that?" I said, "I don't know. It was a mistake. I mean, that came loose, but I'll unite it." And he said, "No, leave it like that. We're going to leave that on the record because we like it." That's where it started. So in the 70s and 80s, I stretched as hard as I could. My son was into Bon Jovi, and in all fairness, listening to some of that, he was quite good. I don't know how to tell the difference between a great electric guitar player and a greater electric guitar player. And so Bon Jovi, Van Halen, Journey, and I tried there. I got lost in the 90s on the rap. We'd already given up harmonies. Right? And then in the 90s when he said, "Hey, Melody's going to go to it," I said, I think we're losing. We are losing so, no, I don't have a lot of that on my iPod. But it's still encouraging from time to time. There's still stuff that comes along that can. And I'm trying to put myself in your place in coming to a school in 2012 that is a wonderful music school with wonderful music history. And you're coming in with your preference, the stuff that you've grown up on. So at that point, I just advise you, keep your ears open. There's all different kind of ways to make the music work. Protect your ears. I would say that I still have pretty good ears at 76, and I've been around a lot of electronic sounds. Even today, if I go to a Pacer game or to a football game, I'll put a napkin or something in the ears to protect your hearing. That's important. Now, did I answer your total question about what's on my iPod? I like it all. I am still very partial to great choral stuff. And I love the great melodies, classical melodies. I got to be honest with you in front of your faculty here. To me, some of Bach's stuff is where there's so much technique going on, and I have to stretch on that. I admire the technique and all of that. I wish you would land. It's kind of like some contemporary singers lying here. Oh, I'd love to hear that song again with the melody. Because he's wanting to show us all the licks that he has. And it was interesting having a discussion one time with a classical person criticizing the current contemporary guys with licks. And I said, and you think Handel did not have licks? Yeah, he wrote his licks out, you know. So. Okay, that's my
Okay, so I asked my question. I'm sure you guys have questions.
I'd love to answer questions. Yeah.
What would be a piece of advice that you have for any aspiring musicians?
A young musician? Okay, now what are you in? Are you an instrumental? Are you in,
Yeah, I play French horn.
You play what?
French horn.
Then I would say a lot of practice, because probably most of your work is going to be in orchestras. And to do that well. I admire the orchestra so well, because I was up close where I could see them Saturday night. They are great readers, right readers. And so at that point, I would just say practice, because there's no other shortcut for that. But there are a lot of good orchestral jobs available now that were not 40 or 50, 60 years ago. More questions? What kind of what?
Choral music program.
Choral music?
Or just in growing up in school.
You mean for me? Okay. As I told you, the first choral stuff that really got my attention was a male quartet. I look back on that particular group; they were not really that good, but at least it was enough to get me interested in it. And I realized there are different levels of good. and so in high school, my thing was mainly vocal. And we happened to have a young guy out of the military who was a great musician, but he was also very militaristic as far as making things happen. He was great. He was both the choral and the band director, had a great personality, he was a great showman. And music reigned in our high school. If the band wanted to practice in the gym, if the basketball wanted to practice, because basketball had to wait until after the band and the choir got, I mean, it was one of those kind of schools. He was excellent, and when I was a freshman, he kind of took me under his arm, and he said, Gaither, you're pretty good. I'll never forget this. And he said, you got one problem. I said, like a problem? What's my problem? He said, you're lazy. Boy, there was something inside me that said, Mr. Copeland, I'm going to prove to you I am not lazy.